Hey friends, welcome into Pack a Day Happy Hour presented by Luige's Frozen Pizzas. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Luige's for sponsoring the show as well. We appreciate them a ton. We've got a great week of football action, even without the Packers, which means you get to sit back and relax and just enjoy football. And the best way to do that, of course, is with a Luige's Frozen Pizza. So make sure you're going to your grocer's aisle, finding a Luige's Pizza, enjoying it. Get a breakfast pizza, get a midday ultra thin crust, and then get a rising fresh dough pizza for the end of the day, and you will be all set for morning football with the Vikings and the Browns, then noon red zone and 3 p.m. red zone, and then Sunday night football as well. Make it better with Luige's Pizza. Find them at luigispizza.com and over on social media at Luige's Pizza. Thank you to you guys for being here. It is happy hour. It is on Wednesday this week, so sorry for changing days on you. I'm going to be out in Vegas the rest of the week, so just trying to get everything caught up right now. Just finished up the grades episode for Friday. Again, doing happy hour today. And then the only episode that I have left to record is actually Justice's episode for tomorrow. Got already recorded with Paul Brettel for Saturday, as well as with Carmen Vitale for Sunday. So you guys will be in good hands while I am out. We still have episodes for you guys every single day, of course. With that being said, let's get to all of your incredible questions. Have about an hour or so I'll try to get to as many as I can. Or if we run out of questions, we'll just call it a happy hour. But let's start with my endless void. I hope now that the Cowboys game is over with, the media will lay off the Cowboys related questions when talking to Micah. It's growing old listening to him talk about Jaire and the Cowboys. I think that's fair, endless void. And I think he's probably ready to just be done with the conversation and move on through the season. And Green Bay obviously has high aspirations that don't include anything Cowboys related. I think everyone has told all the stories and heard all the stories that there is about Micah, what happened in Dallas and him moving on and coming to Green Bay. I think hopefully from here on out, it can just be about football. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not, but I think it's a fair observation. And hopefully for Micah's sake, he can just kind of focus on football from here on out, which I guarantee is what he would rather focus on anyway. Michael, thank you for becoming a brand new YouTube member. Appreciate you a ton, my friend. Happy Wednesday to you as well. Most hated Chicagoan. Looking at the Packers schedule the next few weeks has me concerned. Giants have beaten us with Daniel Jones and DeVito. Broncos beat us with Russ. Steelers beat us with Pickett. Yeah, to me, most hated Chicagoan, those things don't have any correlation with one another. That's just, history stuff that doesn't really matter anymore. The Packers beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So does that mean they're going to beat the Steelers now? Like, I don't know. To me, there's no correlation there. There'll be tough games. There'll be easy games. I care about the team in 2025 and what they're going to do in those games this year. And anything that happened in the past with different players and things like that, to me, has no correlation whatsoever. So I understand it, but at the same time, I don't think it plays any effect in these games whatsoever. There is a timeline where you become a villain. Season goes off the rails quickly. I really won't feel good again until we beat the Bengals by 2 scores. It was all good just a month ago. Go Pack Go. A lot of season left, some ups that are going to happen, some downs that are going to happen. This is the journey of an NFL season. Buckle in. It's usually going to be bumpy. There's going to be some moments you feel great. There's going to be other moments where you feel like complete crap. Coming off 0-1-1 over the last 2 weeks doesn't feel great right now. But hopefully they can bounce back. I think the second quarter of the season is going to be really good. I think they go 4-0 over these next 4 games. At worst, I think they go 3-1, set themselves up for 5-2-1 going into quarter 3. But I thought they were going to go at least 1-1, if not 2-0 these last 2 weeks. And that certainly didn't happen. So Green Bay's got to go out and prove themselves. I think they will. I'm excited about this next quarter of the season. So am I wrong for thinking the head coach should have multiple plays to beat multiple coverages against multiple defensive looks? Why is this the second time LaFleur saying, I didn't know they run so much blank? I didn't hear him say that this time around, Evan. So I'm sorry for not being aware of that situation. I will just say this. I'm not going to be super critical of an offense that just put up 40 points against an opponent. Whatever he had called in this game worked to perfection. And in fact, their final 2 drives that ended in field goals probably would have or could have been touchdown drives if, they managed the clock better. I'll just put it that way. And in the end of the game, if they had a little bit more time, their offense was on fire. They handled everything very, very well. So yeah, to me, whatever the case was, Matt LaFleur had Matt Eberflus's number and was dictating to him all game long. And certainly it didn't feel like Matt was unprepared or anything for that game. So The offense looked totally fine to me in that game. I don't have any complaints about it whatsoever. All right, John. Hey, Andy, enjoy your trip to Vegas. I will, my friend. Hope you kill it there. What do you play while you're there? What else is planned? Shows, restaurants, etc. Yeah, so we're going with a couple friends of ours. Really looking forward to it. I will. It depends. So it's the hard part is that I don't have any friends that really like to play poker. I'm a poker guy. So if it were up to me, like I could spend a day at the poker table probably and just enjoy every second of it. But I'm not going to make like my friends just like sit around while I play poker. So I will probably play poker late at night when other people have gone to bed and I just want to stay up and play poker. So that will be that. I'm guessing like we'll definitely sit at some blackjack tables. And I've actually been studying up on Pai poker, which I've never played before and I kind of want to play. So I'm going to try that this time around. We'll probably play a little bit of roulette. But again, it's all in entertainment. I'm not trying to go out there and win money. I know I'm going to probably lose some money. I look at it as an entertainment cost, as long as it's not that much. Obviously, I have a limit to what I'm willing to lose, and hopefully get some drinks, some free drinks comped along the way while doing so. That's kind of the way that I look at it. But yeah, those will be the games that I play. One show scheduled as of now, I'm going to go see Daniel Tosh. Really looking forward to that. I think that should be. I love comedy shows. I think comedy is an unbelievable art that doesn't get the respect that it deserves sometimes. I've seen Mulaney live. I've seen Seinfeld live. Now get to see Daniel Tosh. I've seen, who else have I seen? I don't know. I've seen other comedians too. I think that there is a true beauty to it and love every second of it. So really looking forward to seeing Daniel Tosh show. That's the show I'm going to right now, but just getting myself into hopefully a bunch of trouble and having a ton of fun along the way. The Cowboys game ending was one of the weirdest games I can remember. Of all the Packers games I can remember, only the Hail Mary game was weirder. Do you have any weird game nominees? I'm sure I have a ton. Obviously, the Hail Mary one. I mean, the Seahawks game in 2014 is about as weird as it gets. I mean, even the block punt 49ers game in 21 is a hell of a weird ending. Yeah, I'm sure I'd have to think about it a little bit, but the tie game against Minnesota, that was another crazy, weird game. There was the game where there was like a bunch of easy missed field goals. Was that against the Bengals? Like there was a bunch of weird missed field goals, like short field goals in overtime by both teams. There's definitely a variety of them up on the list, but I'd have to go through and look at some of them to kind of refresh my memory a little bit. I love those weird games when they aren't Packers games, but this almost killed me. John, I totally get it. I let my kids stay up to watch this game. My wife was giving me the stink eye. My kid said he just wanted to sleep, but had to know how the game turned out. That's good parenting, John. I appreciate it. Can you confirm the Doubs extension possibility? Seems like a good move because he can get money now and have a low cap number the next 2 seasons. Also, why didn't we just let Hardman be kick returner, punt returner? Yeah, I don't think Hardman fit. And to be fair, if you remember in preseason, his punt returns were pretty atrocious. He let the one bounce. It was just terrible. He had the muff punt. It just never really felt like he had a spot on the team. I'm A1 in the organizer of go get a freaking punt returner, figure it out. I can understand why it didn't work out with Hardman. It didn't seem to ever really click with him to a large extent in Green Bay. As far as the Doubs possibilities, I do think that there is a real possibility that they re-sign him. I'm sure they're having conversations, right? And he's off to a really good start this season. There's a couple things that I would look at here. Next year, going into next year, you already have Wicks, Reed, Watson, Williams, and Golden under contract. Spending a bunch of money at that spot when you already have those 5 guys under contract, probably not super necessary. When you draft Golden and Williams, you're basically saying, and re-sign Watson, you're basically saying you're going to say goodbye to Romeo Doubs. That's the general thought process there. There's a couple other ways to look at this, though. The first thing is, despite Golden and Williams just being drafted and Watson being re-signed, of all the receivers on your roster right now, none of them have any contract extension worth any real money at the moment, and certainly nothing long-term. So you're almost looking at this of between Doubs, Reed, Wicks, and Watson, and we know it's not Watson because they already did a 1-year extension with him. So between Wicks, Doubs, and Reed, is there one of those that you want to prioritize and a long-term extension and actually give real money to? If they decide that's Doubs, they can do that. You can let Reed and Wicks play out the final year of their deal. Williams and Golden don't get paid anything for a while. And Watson, you got on a team-friendly deal for next year. You don't need to, you can sign that one receiver to a $15 million a year contract and not have it kill you when nobody else is making anything. So you absolutely can do that. The other thing I will argue is there's not a ton of value anymore in just letting guys walk. Yeah, maybe you get a 4th or 5th round comp pick for it, but they have a lot of guys that might sign elsewhere. And you kind of can just find money now when you need to. So, if there's a player that you want to keep, you're kind of better off just keeping them and just not getting a comp pick if you don't, whatever, and just kind of keeping that guy in the roster. Unless he's wanting like 20 million a year or something, you're just like, yeah, that's too much. Then all right, let him walk. But if it is around like the 15 million, like a 3-year 45, I don't know, they can afford it. Just do it. There's no real downside in it. So if it's me, what I would do if I were Green Bay is I want to see Doubs play out the remainder of this year. I want to see how he plays. And if he shows to continue to take a jump, then yeah, I'm going to probably re-sign him. If he doesn't, or if I just all of a sudden get the rest of the receivers back and everyone's healthy and your primary receivers look like Wicks and Reed and Golden and Watson, well, then I probably just don't need it. And it's probably just a nice to have, but not anything that you actually need. And maybe you can spend that money elsewhere. So if it's me, I'm letting this season play out. I could see it going in either direction where Doubs is not back, where they re-sign him now to use some of that money this year to pay for it. So it's not as much in the following years. There's a lot of different ways that this could go. Again, if it's me, I'd probably let the season play out a little bit more and see where this is at when you actually have your full weaponry at your disposal to see who kind of steps to the top of that wide receiver room. Do you think Brant Banks' mess up on the field goal protection led to him being cut, or would he have been cut anyway? Certainly didn't help, John. I think he probably gets cut either way and brought back to the practice squad, but that's certainly one of those mistakes that you can't have, and it certainly does not help his cause in any way, shape, or form. When Matthew Golden was drafted, many of us envisioned him being a deep threat weapon to take the top off of his speed. Do you see that role still being in play for him as the season progresses? Absolutely. I mean, he should have had the 40-yard touchdown against Washington? Was it Washington that they just missed it on? Should have had the 90-yard touchdown that they just missed against Washington. Had the 40-yard plus this week. That was there and that he actually completed. So yeah, absolutely. I continue to see him being a deep threat down the field and continuing to be somebody that gets open, takes the top off of defenses. And I'm really excited about Golden and Watson being on the field at the same time, potentially having two of those guys that you have to worry about, which should open up even more underneath for guys like Kraft and Reed and Jacobs, etc., where you can let them run after the catch a little bit more. So absolutely expect that to continue to be a part of his arsenal. Don't forget my Z-Biotic. I will definitely, this is a true story. This is not a plug or anything. Matt's not a plant here. I actually put it to the side for Vegas to make sure that I have it for it. Cause I'm like, if ever there's a really good time to use it, this is probably it. They ship me free samples and stuff like that because I'm obviously working with them. So I have them there. And I'm like, oh, I'm definitely bringing these. I had to actually check to make sure that we're checking a bag and not I'm carrying on because then you get the liquid thing. But legitimately have it packed already. So I will not forget it, Matt. I'm just ready to watch Christian Watson again. Landon, you and me both. Guys, I have Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, Bucky Irving, and Chuba Hubbard in one of my leagues. 4 starters, all injured. I'm beyond screwed. Beast, I say this with all sincerity. We don't have a major concern about your fantasy football team. However, we now know that you are cursed. All we ask is that if you have any Packers on your roster, you either cut or trade them immediately. This is your duty as a Packers fan. Your fantasy team is cursed. We have established that. There is no going back. If you have a Jordan Love, a Matthew Golden, a Josh Jacobs, a Tucker Kraft, or anyone that wears a G on their helmet, or specifically, if you have the Packers defense and or special teams, please, by all means, release and or trade said player to the team that is on the championship, right? So that they can be blessed moving forward. And that's your duty as a Packers fan. So your season is already lost. Do your duty as a Packers fan and get any Packers players off of your team. Thank you for your service. Happy Wednesday. Matt LaFleur being called a bad coach is insane. Sergeant Dan, you and I are in the same boat on that one. Thanks for keeping us sane. I don't know that I can always do that, but I will promise you I'll always try my best. Who played worse in your opinion, CV or Hobbs? Valentine. Valentine played worse. He played less and gave up bigger plays. And Hobbs actually had some good plays on his tape. CV really didn't. I like CV more. I think CV is better, but this was a tough one for CV for sure. I was calling for CV to be put in the game when Hobbs was struggling. CV got put in the game, well, because Hobbs got hurt, and it was really bad. So yeah, CV had a little bit of a worse game in this one. Neither of them were good though. Do you think Luke Musgrave is losing his spot to Fitzpatrick? His production on the field is dwindling. I do. It's at least like kind of equal at this point. And quite frankly, I think it should probably be just a little bit more Fitzpatrick. I even wouldn't completely be against going a little tight end hunting and giving yourself some insurance to Tucker Kraft or another number 2 tight end option, because Musgrave has been basically invisible. Actually, I take that back. I wish he was invisible, because there's more negative than there is positive. He's not a good blocker, and he hasn't done anything to reward the pass catching opportunities. So yeah, to me, I'm ready for Fitzpatrick because I think you get a little bit better of a blocker. Musgrave's not doing anything as a pass catcher anyway. So I don't know, just go with the guy that can block better, I guess. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Can you think of a late game moment that Matt LaFleur has been elite? I feel like he mostly implodes. I don't know that it's, I don't know. It's not like, how do I want to say this? When you think of like coaches, like what's Bill Belichick's best late game moment? And I know you had some gutsy 4th down things and stuff like that, but like, I don't think that's how you really kind of define coaches. Now, you can't have, 4th quarter implosions. You can't have those. You can't have block kicks at the end of game that lose you games. You can't have, this past week where you have really terrible time management and things like that. I don't feel in general like the time management at end of games has been something that's really bit them in the past. This one feels like something a little bit different. I'm not saying his game management or time management throughout other portions of the game has always been great, but it hasn't seemed like something that, at least that I can recall, that's bit them at the end of games. To me, usually at the end of games, it's, you're in no huddle if you're down and you got to go get yourself back into it. But yeah, I don't know that's something I usually would define specifically for coaches of like, oh, do you remember that great time management or game management play at the end of the game to help win the game? The one that comes to my mind, was it the Saints game? There's been a couple situations. There's been one situation for sure where they were down by 14. I don't think it was the Saints. Raiders, maybe? I don't know who it was. But they're down 14. They get the touchdown. They use the analytic model to go for 2, get the 8 points, hold the other team, get the ball back, score the touchdown, and win by a point. So there's been some situations like that. I forget what team that was against, but that's probably the best case scenario. So there are some moments like that, but again, he's not without fault. Definitely needs to improve some of his late game management as well. Sorry if it's been asked already, but have you figured out the Jenkins penalty? If guys were already set around the line, who cares the angle he snaps the ball at? We've had a few. It was a BS penalty, Will. There's no advantage gained whatsoever. And it's one thing if you're like really moving the ball forward. Like he literally is just like kind of tipping that thing up. It was a very slight move forward that gained nothing whatsoever. So yeah, it's very stupid. Very, very stupid. Don't know what the refs were thinking there. Both Dak and Love need their respect. 2 quarterbacks people like to call overrated, proving everyone wrong so far. Thought both were phenomenal in that game. It was really fun to see them go back and forth. Matt LaFleur mostly imploded in late game situations. We would win no close games. Don't be a prisoner of the moment. Can see both sides of it a little bit. Doubs and Williams are wearing the extra padding on the helmet. What is the reason not to wear it? Honestly, probably aesthetics for most players, if I'm being honest. Also, I think if I remember correctly, that if you like take the Guardian helmets and the Guardian caps with the helmets and like some of the new helmets and look at the concussion data next to each other, like the new helmets are like just as good even without the Guardian helmet, the Guardian cap. Like there hasn't been, I don't think, a huge increase in safety with the Guardian cap in relation or correlation to the new helmets. So I think there is a little bit of that. And I'm sure some players are just like, I'm not wearing that thing. I honestly, it is maybe as stupid as it sounds. I think if I were an NFL player, I think I'd be like, I'm just going to take my chances with the helmet. I'm not wearing that thing. it looks ridiculous. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Let me be totally clear. They're smart to wear it if they feel more comfortable wearing it, especially somebody like Doubs who's had numerous concussions. I'm not ripping anyone for that decision, to be crystal clear. I just think it's a swag aesthetic sort of thing, and it looks insane. It looks insane. It looks absolutely insane. So I think that probably has the most to do with it. But I do think if you look at some of the numbers, don't quote me on this, I'd have to go back and look at it. But I think last I checked, the concussion numbers for some of the newer helmets to like some helmets with the Guardian caps is not really that different at the moment. Jason, it seems like Wicks has run the wrong route and Matt LaFleur has called him out for it. Deep shot to Golden this week. I know he's got other skills we love, but is he going to lose reps going forward? If he's going to lose reps, Jason, it's going to be because he hasn't been as good of a blocker this year as he was in the past. He was phenomenal in the past. This year, it seems like he's kind of let that part of his game go a little bit. Hasn't been as physical and as aggressive as a blocker. If he runs wrong routes constantly, yes, that's a problem. If you heard Matt LaFleur define it this week, what happens is as a receiver, if you realize that maybe a corner is going to sit on your short route and there's no safety help over the top, you've got the ability to alter that into a go route and throw that hand up and say, hey, hit me. I'm going long because there's nobody to cover me. And Wicks read that right. The corner was sitting on his route. There's no safety over the top. He sees it, throws that hand up. If you see it on tape, you'll see him throw the hand up and like, I'm open. Throw me the ball. And he would have been 1,000,000% right in that situation. Normally in that read, the read was right. However, in this situation, you need to know that the player next to you is already running a go route. And if you run a go route, now you're directly crossing the streams, if we're talking in Ghostbusters terms here, right? So in that situation, even if it's there, you've already got a receiver that's running to that spot. You can't counterfeit his route by seeing that there's something available and throwing your hand up and running that route. So in general, he read it right and did the right thing, but maybe didn't recognize or didn't think about the fact that there's a receiver next to him in Golden that's going to be there already and he can't intercept that route. The crazy part about that play, as Matt LaFleur talked about, and you can view this on tape as well, Wicks was right because there was no safety help over the top. And so he recognizes his corner sitting on his route. He can go and he's going to be open, right? Well, there was no safety there over the top and there was nobody to cover Golden because the inside player thought there was going to be a safety over the top. Had Wicks not run that go route and read it that way and just went with his normal sit down route or whatever he was supposed to run, something not deep, Golden is completely uncovered. There's nobody there. The corner that's there is because Wicks ran the route. It's because he went down the field on the left-hand side and brought the corner with him. If Wicks just stays short or intermediate, that corner's not there. Golden is wide ass open, and that's a touchdown. Now, they scored a touchdown on the drive anyway, so whatever, doesn't really matter in the end. But if Wicks doesn't do that, which again, you can understand why he did, he read it in front of him, just forgetting what was to the right of him. But if he doesn't do that, Golden is untouched for a touchdown. Nobody's covering him. So just a bit of unlucky circumstances there for Green Bay and something that Wicks will learn from, I'm sure. Packer Aggie, thank you so much for the super chat. How does the CBA impact practice during the season? If needed, can Matt call extra practices, more aggressive drills, make the special team unit run wind sprints until they puke? There is a specific amount of time that you can have in practice. There's, I think, one padded practice per week that you can have. So yes, the CBA does also cover how much practice time you can have. Now, how you utilize some of that practice time in running sprints and how much time you're spending on special teams, there's still opportunities for that stuff. But yes, it is still covering how much time you spend in practice and how many padded practices you can have during the season. Lloyd could be back soon. Correct. Great. I can't wait to find out what appendage he lost over the last 4 weeks. Settle down, Shane. I get that you're kidding, though. Andy, I said this on the last stream, but never saw a response. I think Matt LaFleur is the Zach Taylor of Matt LaFleur's. I've seen this posted. It's fine. I do not like the way Jenkins snaps the ball. He's looking through his legs to see what's going on. Why is this happening, Daryl? I don't know. Mike Wall and I talked about this at length, so definitely go check out that episode. As Mike stated, they're putting him in a position for failure. I don't know why that's happening. They need to get it fixed. It seems like it's a silent count thing. I don't know. It's just putting them at a disadvantage and the line at a disadvantage, and they got to figure out a way to get that fixed. Weston, thank you so much for the super chat. Been a fan of what you do for a while. Appreciate that. Wanted to ask what you think of Jordan's season so far, what I think of Jordan's season so far. Also go see one battle after another. It was fire. Is that a show in Vegas? One battle after another? I'm not familiar with that. I love what Jordan's been doing so far. I mean, very few, obviously the interception in week 3 is a big time error, right? No question about it. One really interceptable pass in week 1 that he would have liked to have back, the one that Anzalone dropped. The other one to Brian Branch was a ridiculous play by Brian Branch. Don't even really fault Jordan too much. The fumble, Jordan got a little too deep on that play. You'd like to see him understand that he's deep in the pocket, needs to step into that pocket in front of him. More on the tackle, more on the play call, but probably some things that Jordan could do a little bit differently on that play. Overall, love the accuracy that he's throwing with. Love the playmaking ability. Love that he's utilizing his legs a little bit more. I think he's been fantastic. And if you look at like all the advanced metrics, he's top 5 in everything, guys. He's a fantastic quarterback and he's playing really great football, no matter what measurement or metric that you want to use. So very happy with this play so far. And to me, he is a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. Not sure yet if he's a Super Bowl quarterback that you can win because of, but you can easily win one with him. And I'm very excited about the way that he's playing. As much as an early bye week sucks, it does feel like a good spot after 2 weird games and a lot of injuries. Beast, I totally agree. Plus, they have a kind of that mini bye following Thanksgiving as well. Hopefully, they can get the bye in the playoffs too. They've got work to do if they want that, but I don't think they're going to get that, to be clear. But it'd be nice if they could. But I think this is a fine time to have it based on the injuries and just some of the weirdness of the season so far. And I think getting a get-right game against Cincinnati right after it is a good thing too. Overall, I think this is good for Green Bay. Good afternoon, Andy. So 4 games in, is Elton so far an upgrade from Josh Myers? Well, here's the fun thing. Josh Myers, through 4 games in 2021, had a negative 0.1 grade. In 2022, had a negative 0.5 grade. In 2023, had a negative 1.45 grade. And in 2024, had a plus 0.7 grade. So he actually started the season pretty well last year. In 2025, Elton, through 4 games, has a negative 1.05 grade. So my answer would be no, he has not been so far. However, I do have some good news. Elton through the first 3 games was a negative 1.45 grade. This past week, after he acknowledged himself that he played like crap through the first 3 weeks, he had a plus 0.4 grade this week for me. That was much more Elton Jenkins like. He played much better. He played winning football. And if he plays that way moving forward, he will be a big upgrade from Josh Myers. So first 3 weeks, no, it was bad. It was ugly. It was disappointing. And it was frustrating to see Elton play that way. Week 4, much better. If that's a sign of what's to come, I'm very happy about it. And I think he's going to be a really good center, but he needs to now show that level of consistency. And to be fair, I think he can even play better than what he did this week against Dallas, but it was a step in the right direction and hopefully a sign of things to come for Elton. Sons of Lombardi, Denny, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, my friend. Remember how much we were complaining about the early bye? Now it seems like a blessing. Yes, talked about that a little bit. In a playoff championship loss scenario, do you prefer your team take the L against the Super Bowl winner or the Super Bowl loser? In a playoff championship loss scenario, do you prefer your team to take the L against the Super Bowl winner or the Super Bowl loser? So you're basically asking, would I rather the Packers lose in the Super Bowl or in the championship game, right? I think that's how I'm reviewing this, Drew. I don't know. They're all painful. We have been through the gamut as Packers fans. We have had brutal wild card losses, brutal divisional round losses, brutal championship game losses, and a brutal Super Bowl loss. I didn't like any of them. They all sucked, and I hated every second of it. And I never want to experience one again, even though I know we're going to experience probably multiple of them again. They're never easy, and I don't have a preference. I guess I'd rather go to the Super Bowl, to be honest. Give me the journey of having a fun, divisional round, wild card, and championship game win and going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, maybe it stings more losing in the Super Bowl, but I guess I'll take the journey. But yeah, they all suck. I hate it every single time, no matter what. Don't think LaFleur should be fired midseason, but if his conservative game planning continues, why not make Hafley the head coach? He's going to be one anyway. Why not take over for LaFleur? Thoughts? This is the South Park. Why we could take the mystery box. It could even be a boat. Why take the boat? It could, the mystery box could even be a boat sort of gag. The odds that Jeff Hafley or any coach hired this offseason are as good as Matt LaFleur has been in his career so far are insanely slim. The vast majority of coaches flame out in 3 or 4 years, do not work out whatsoever, and you're going to hate them even more than the coach that you have. I think Jeff Hafley is going to be a good coach. If you had to bet, if Jeff Hafley has a better career as a head coach than Matt LaFleur or a worse career, I would bet almost anything on a worse career than Matt LaFleur. It is a really hard gig. It is a really, really, really hard gig. And you all are going to hate whoever they hire almost no matter what. If I would have told you when Matt LaFleur was hired that they were going to go through a quarterback transition, be in the playoffs every year but 1 year, be a winning team every single year, or I guess except one. What did they finish? Like 7-8-1, or what was I forget what the season was when they missed the playoffs, but it was like they were still in it until the final week of the season, right? That they would go to, NFC championship games, plural. I don't know how many people are upset overall. Now, again, the goal is Super Bowls. I get it. And I'm not saying Matt's perfect. And I'm saying that there's some reasons where, he needs to be much better. And if he can't be, then it's going to be a problem. And ultimately, you're going to have to ask yourself some tough questions down the line. To me, we're still not even remotely close to having a conversation about having a conversation. I honestly think, again, and this is no disrespect for you, I've seen a lot of it, the fire LaFleur to keep Hafley is literally one of the dumbest things I have ever heard. It is that ridiculous. Hafley might not even get a job this offseason. And talking about the fact I heard it after the Packers were 2-0 is insane. The fact we're talking about it after the defense just allowed 40 and the offense put up 40 is also insane. So yeah, I think it's absurd. I think it's seriously, again, I think the whole concept is patently ridiculous. Yeah, I have no other way to put it. Again, not saying Matt doesn't need to be better, not absolving him of all blame. I put the blame on him for this last game. I put the blame on him for not correcting the special teams mistakes. Yes, on him, not just on Rich, on him as well. So yeah, I'm not saying that there's not. They're going to go on a run here, and my guess is we're going to talk more about Matt LaFleur being a coach of the year candidate than we are going to talk about him getting fired for the remainder of this season. That's my thought. If we get to the end of this year, they don't make the playoffs. They lose ridiculously in the first round. And it's because of game planning stuff, special, whatever it may be, right? All right, we can talk. We can have that discussion about having a discussion. I still don't think, by the way, he's going anywhere. But we can at least have a fair and honest discussion about it. We're not even remotely close to that. Again, the season is a journey. There are going to be ups and downs. 2 weeks ago, we felt like Green Bay was on the top of the world and players in the locker room were talking about going undefeated. And everything was amazing and sunshine and rainbows. And at that time, I said, be careful. Eventually, there's going to be stuff that doesn't feel this great. And in a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about everyone needs to fire Matt LaFleur. And lo and behold, here we are. And in a couple more weeks, you might be talking about, yep, this team is amazing. Jordan Love should be MVP. Matt should be coach of the year. Don't ride the wave. We have plenty of time. We have plenty of time. We have all the time in the world as soon as the season's done, whether that is in week 18 or after the Super Bowl, to dissect what went wrong, what went right, if Matt LaFleur deserves $1 billion extension, or if he should get kicked to the curb and treated for war crimes. Somewhere in between is probably the truth, but we have that ability to let this season play out. And here's the thing too. I've talked about this a couple times this week. what's your best case scenario? That they fire Matt LaFleur, and I know you're saying it shouldn't be fired now, but for those who do think so, you're going to fire Matt now, put Jeff Hafley as head coach. That's going to hurt the defense, by the way. Just inherently, Jeff mid-season having to take over for Matt LaFleur and put a billion more things on his plate is going to hurt him. And if you want Matt fired, I'm assuming you definitely want Rich Bisaccia fired, because Bisaccia has been far worse than LaFleur. So I'm assuming if Matt's fired, you definitely want Bisaccia fired. So now you've got a new special teams coach, probably just the assistant special teams coach, because who else are you hiring right now at this point of the season? Your defensive coordinator is now the head coach. Was Derek Ansley the new defensive coordinator? And is Adam Stenavich now the guy calling the plays? Like, really think this through. Do you honestly, truly believe that going from a head coach that has experience, that has gone through some of these mistakes, or a guy in the head coaching job for the first time ever in that spot in the NFL, the new guy is going to be set up better than the guy that's already been there and has existed and knows this team and has the pulse and everything like that? You've now got worse at head coach going from LaFleur to Hafley, at least in midseason, in my opinion. I think overall, but certainly going there midseason. That's worse. Your special teams is probably, if the assistant is the assistant to Bisaccia for a reason, you probably got worse on special teams. You now got worse at defensive coordinator, going from Hafley to Ansley, and Ansley's going to have to be much more involved because now Hafley is doing other stuff. And you've now gone from a play caller and an offensive mind that's considered one of the best in the league in Matt LaFleur to Adam Stenavich. Like, just everything is now worse. You've not made anything better. I think the entire thing is beyond absurd. It's the stupidest thing where we just immediately jump to just fire him. Come on. Like, we should be better than that. And I'm not saying, again, that there isn't a time and a place to call for certain stuff. Like, the lever that would need to be pulled to get to the point where fire Matt LaFleur is a real, logical, smart thing to say is like a double-digit loss to Cincinnati and then like a 4-game losing streak, and you've completely lost the locker room. Like, that's where we need to get to before we're having that conversation. And if it gets there, by all means, understandable. Double-digit loss to Cincy, 4-game losing, something like that. All right, it's conversation time, probably action time. Let's just take a pause. Let's see what these next few weeks bring. You have a bye. You've got a couple of easy opponents, or at least one easy opponent coming up in Cincinnati. Let's see if this thing gets trended in the right direction. They don't even have a losing record. All right, let's just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. I'm at the movies right now, about to watch The Long Road, and I still caught the stream a few minutes before it starts. Just wanted to say, continue the great work, Andy, and enjoy Vegas. J Money, appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy the movie. Happy Wednesday. Matt LaFleur being called a bad coach is insane, but I'm so tired hearing him say sorry for play calling. Running back as assistant head coach is okay at best, but dud as a special teams. Oh, Rich Bisaccia as assistant. Gotcha. Would they find a special teams coach this far into the season? I don't think so. Again, I tweeted out, I understand the frustration with Rich. I really, really do. I'm still stunned that they gave him an extension this past year. That was a very not smart move, in my opinion. I think you're going to be hard pressed to find a new special teams coordinator at this point in the season. See if they can correct it. So they've got a bye week coming up. I think Goody needs to find a punt returner. We'll see where things go from here. I'm not super hopeful about the special teams, if I'm being honest, but this is kind of the team in the coaching staff that you signed up for, right? So hopefully they can get things right, especially on special teams. But again, I trust nothing with special teams at this point. Should Goody maybe be in the conversation on Reek Woolen, or can they get by with the guys they have? I need to watch Reek closer. I think there's a lot of times these big play corners, there's a reason they maybe take some chances that they shouldn't and things like that. I'd have to look at him a little bit closer. I'll say, I think there's room for, some additions on this team. I would lean more towards defensive tackle and offensive line if I were going to add something personally before I would get to corner. Not saying they couldn't look at corner, but to me, another defensive tackle, another offensive lineman would probably be a little bit more of my priority at this point. Of all the IR and PUP players, who do you think the Packers need the most? Tom is probably the answer, except he's not on IR. Yeah, I think Watson probably burns the most. That's probably my answer. I think he is probably the player that just brings something a little bit different. Yeah. I'll say Watson. Jaden Reed would probably be my next one too. Those would be 1 and 2 in the conversation for me. If you were Goody, would you give a call to D-back to see how he's feeling? I would always be checking everything out, and I would be constantly in contact with anybody like that just to see what it's at. But I think the odds that he's feeling good and can come out and play or anything like that are probably relatively slim. I think Bakhtiari and his agent, like if you're Bakhtiari's agent, you have that out to Adam Schefter of like, David Bakhtiari is now in good health and is looking for a team and is going to start trying out for different teams or things like that. We haven't heard anything like that, which likely leads me to believe that he's probably not good to play. Notice Jordan was wearing a Playbook armband. Is that the first time wearing it? I don't think so. I think he's worn it in the past. Usually, by the way, that's just a way to make things more condensed. So instead of Matt having to call in ZX4189, blah, 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 and like a big long call, you just say number 3. And because if you make the long call, then Matt's got to say the long call, and then Jordan's got to say the long call, and then now you're down on the time on the clock. So in this way, Matt can just say number 3, and then it takes less time, and then Jordan can say blah, 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 blah. Just speeds the time up. But I do believe he's worn it in the past. Game was so ridiculous. We almost forgot the first offensive play. Golden trying too hard the whole game, but a fantastic catch. Now I'm trying to remember the first play of the game. Yeah, I don't remember it. Why can I not remember it? Bringing it up now because I'm drawing a blank and it's making me mad. All right, Packers, Cowboys. First play, Jordan Love pass left to Josh Jacobs. It had nothing to do with Matthew Golden. Golden's not even on the field on the play. What are you talking about? Game was so ridiculous, we almost forgot the first offensive play. Golden trying too hard. I don't know, Jared. I think you have that one wrong because the very first offensive play of the game is a pass to Josh Jacobs where he gets 4 yards in the play, and Matthew Golden was not on the field on the play. So go back and review the tape, my friend. What happened to all the gas, no brakes, Matt LaFleur? I don't know. I need to see more of it. Honestly, I want to see a more analytical approach from Matt. He used to be really good at trusting the analytics. Analytics say do this, and he did it. And that's usually a good way to live. It's not perfect, but usually you're better off more often going in that direction. I think he would be better rather than going with gut feel to use the math a little bit more and trust the analytics a little bit more. We have not got a full timetable on Tom's return. We have not. Would you be willing to sacrifice second and or third round picks if the right player became available, especially now with having a lack of first for the next couple of years? Depending on the player, yes. I'm all in on this team and in this season. If it was the right player, I'm not letting draft picks get in the way. I think you have to be careful with it. You can't go too aggressive where you're completely without draft picks. But if it was for the right player for the right reasons, I'm not going to let that stop me. I would probably try to avoid it if possible. But I'm also, if it's the right deal, I'm just making it because I think it's the right deal. So yeah, I would, depending on the player. That's funny. I just put Christian Watson on my bench, meaning from a fantasy football standpoint. But you weren't, that was Beast, right? All right. So you weren't the one with the cursed team. I have Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, and Jordan Love, but they're all on different teams that have actually been doing good so far. I promise I won't pick up any Packers on the cursed team. Beast, thank you for your service, my friend. Although I was hoping to pick Doubs, but I won't. Beast, you're the man. Appreciate you. Matt LaFleur at the end of halves is a car crash. Remember the Tampa playoff game at halftime, Cleveland 2025, Dallas 2025. It's brutal and not improving. It's not been good enough. I will definitely agree with you there, Derek. No question about it. Of course, the idiot ref called that on the 1 yard line. Yeah, I don't understand that one at all. The game where they were down 14 and got the touchdown in the 2 and then another touchdown to win by 1 was the Saints game in Love's first season as a starter. Thanks, Beast Bumblebee. Appreciate you. Why do the Packers get called in these fringe penalties more often than not? I don't know. I really wish I knew. I'm not a pet guy, Pearl the Cat. Just in general, not a pet guy. 2 kids is plenty, and I don't really need anything more than that. I'm not against people having pets, and I love that people love cats, and I love that people love dogs, and I love that people love iguanas and fish and everything like that. It just feels like a lot of work. And when I'm doing this full time already, and we've got like 1 million soccer practices a week and 2 kids and everything else, a pet on top of it seems like a nightmare, if I'm being honest. Not that they wouldn't, I'm sure, be fun to have around the house. It just feels like a lot of work, and I don't have any extra spare time for any work. And it honestly wouldn't be fair to the pet. So it's not that I don't like any animal or anything like that. Just in general, the whole pet thing just seems like way too much for me at the moment. So I've avoided it for that reason. Sorry, but I'm using my phone and I have fat fingers. You've met me. I had to retype what I was trying to ask. Have fun in Vegas and take your Z-Biotics in an IV bag and double your hangover cure. I will definitely do so. Ever since Wall pointed out the way Jenkins snaps the ball head down, I can't unsee it. Same thing, Jared. You and me both. Do you think Jaire's career is just over? Sucksy is just a healthy scratch every week for the Ravens. And when he played week 1, he did not look the same at all. I think he probably has some football left in him, but I think this is closer to the real Jaire Alexander. Not to, get too patting myself on the back. It's why I never thought he was going to be back. Green Bay felt constantly frustrated with him. He couldn't stay healthy. Even when he was healthy, the play wasn't the same. He wasn't a good run defender. He wasn't a great tackler. He didn't really fit the DNA of the defense. It just never made sense to me that this guy was going to be back. And if you read between the lines on anything that Goody or LaFleur or Halfley or anyone said, and even like Alexander basically wanting out, it just never added up. And it's why I know people hated me at the time. Hated me. What do you mean he's not going to be back? What do you mean they shouldn't bring him back? Of course he's going to be back. Of course they'll work out something. Did you see the latest report? And everything in my being told me there's no chance. He's gone. He's not coming back. It's over. It's done with. The only thing that gave me any pause at the end was that it was going on forever. And there was the report from Matt that there were talks of potentially, redoing his contract at one point. My guess is that was a last second, hey, we'll bring you back for the minimum. Do you want to come back at the minimum? And Jaire said no. And finally, they just released him. It never made sense to bring him back. And I think you got to give Goody his flowers on this one. He got it right again. There was never a world where Jaire should have been back on this team. And I think we're seeing that with Baltimore right now as well. Maybe he comes back and plays great football at some point this year. I think Marlon Humphrey is out right now. They're all beat up, and maybe they're going to need him at some point, and maybe he still goes out and plays well. But this is exactly what you were worried about and why you didn't want to give him any substantial money whatsoever, because this was closer to the norm in the last few years. And I'll say one more thing. I'm cheering him on. I hope he does well. I hope he does great in Baltimore. He was a really fun Packer to have. Just didn't work out in the end. And unfortunately, is the injuries and the play on the field have not matched some of the other stuff that it would need to take, primarily the money, to keep him on the team. The Guardian helmet makes our players look like bobbleheads. It's definitely a weird look. Felt like the bye week was too early. Now I feel relieved that we have it when we do. Besides getting healthy, what's the number one thing you're looking for this team to clean up? Special teams and offensive line. Special teams, offensive line, and special teams and offensive line. Those are the two things. Those are the two catastrophic issues right now. If the offensive line can't play better, it's going to catch up with them in the playoffs. If the special teams cannot play better, it's going to catch up with them in the playoffs. Those are the two. Everything else is going to be good, or at least has the ability to be good, and I'm not concerned over it. Offensive line and special teams are my two biggest concerns. Was Golden actually on a go route? It looked like it might have been just a corner route, or either way, it was a deep route, Ben. I'd have to go back and look at it a little bit closer. But either way, it was definitely a deep route that was in that territory. So that's the bigger point there. You've stated that when blackout drunk, you are an elite poker player. I just told this story again the other day to a friend of mine. So does this mean that to be your best in Las Vegas that you need to not take Z-Biotics? All right. Couple things. I will fight back on blackout drunk. Okay. I don't want to be blackout drunk. I don't recommend anybody being blackout drunk. Okay. One of my favorite Mulaney jokes, by the way, is when he used to get blackout drunk all the time, and he would then at times find that he was without money in his pocket. It would always be concerning to him that he didn't have money in his pocket, but it would always be more concerning to him when he was blackout drunk for an evening and he found more money in his pocket, because that means he either exchanged goods and or services for money, and he has no recollection of how that happened. One of my favorite Mulaney jokes, but don't recommend being blackout drunk. That being said, I play poker a million times better when I'm a little bit buzzed or a little bit drunk. The reason being is because when I am sober at a table, I get bored a lot quicker and I just want to play poker. I just want to play cards, right? So if I get belt at like bad cards, after a while, I'm just like, all right, screw it. I'm playing this hand. And then I play stupid and I don't play smart. And when I'm having a good time and a little bit buzzed or a little bit drunk, I'm just like, oh, 3-8 offsuit. See you later. Oh, Jack 7. See you later. Whatever it might be, I'm good. And then if I get a good hand, I'll play and I'll maybe play a little bit more aggressively. But when I'm sober, I'm like, all right, screw it. I want to play every hand. So that's why I end up playing a lot worse when I'm sober. However, for Z-Biotics, it's not that you won't get, necessarily DRUNK. It's more that it just helps you the next morning, right? So a little bit different there. So I still think I can take my Z-Biotics. And then, hopefully have a little bit of a buzz going. So I play a little bit better at the poker table rather than just being sober and completely impatient overall. Yes, knew what you meant, Ben. Good afternoon to you as well, Daryl. Thanks for being here. I think extending Doubs would be a mistake. His role in this offense is replaceable, unlike Watson's size and speed. What say you, Andy? We talked about this earlier. I just want to see how the rest of the season plays out. I think Doubs is really good. I think he's playing good football. I want to see that consistent through the course of the season, and I want to see if it's even needed. If Williams and Golden and Wicks and Reed and Watson all look great, I probably don't need it. It's more of a nice to have, but I just kind of want to see how this wide receiver season goes for everyone involved. Saw a DB last week wearing the Guardian pillow, leading with his head on a tackle, weaponizing, ban those ridiculous looking things. I think they're probably good overall. I don't think they need to be banned. They do look ridiculous. Hey, Andy, been wanting to say how glad I am that Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets and Steelers, which have green and yellow in their color schemes respectively. Much easier to stomach watching him. That's fair, Brady. Off to a good start with the Steelers. Good for him. Good for football. Let's see if that continues. And it should be a fun matchup in week 8. All my questions are being answered. Chats are on point. Love that for you, Jared. Guardian caps equal dark helmet from Spaceballs. Very much have that energy for sure. Also the big, especially Savion Williams for some reason, looks like the British Guard, like the Queen's Guard or whatever. They got those like huge high like British hats or whatever. Reminds me of those every single time. Do you see anything to indicate why it feels like tackling has been so bad this week and a little bit versus Cleveland? No, I just think fundamental stuff. I didn't also think it was as egregious as it looked at first glance, but still some tackles they needed to make. Just think it's more of a fundamental thing. 4th down pass to Golden was awesome. It was really, really awesome. Have to have it ones are really, really cool. And that was a have to have it. And Love absolutely slung that thing, and Golden did a great job holding on. Only thing I have to say about Matt LaFleur at this point, just let Jordan cook. He had ice in his veins in Dallas. Jared, you and I totally agree on that. Pearl, we talked about that one already. Corey, thanks so much for becoming a new member. Tackling has been great with Haft's defense. Why the sudden issues with it in Dallas? Again, I don't think it was actually quite as bad. I'd have to look at like the total number of missed tackles, but I didn't think it was that egregious. It was not good enough, clear and plain and simple. Just think some fundamental stuff. And I think they were playing fast and sometimes overran a couple plays. Sometimes it's the cost of doing business. They need to clean it up just a little bit. Dan Skipper is still out there. Is that a special teams coach? Or no, that's the offensive tackle, right? The reporting as eligible guy. Is there any word on Christian Watson and Jaden Reed? I think that adds a lot of juice. Big fan from Metro Detroit. Corey, thanks for that. No, Reed's going to be out a while yet. There's no immediate timetable for him. Watson, he might start practicing next week, but Matt did not commit to that yet. Thank you, Andy, for covering the Packers. I live in Georgia, and you always make me feel like I'm right there in Wisconsin to know what's going on. I hope you have an amazing vacation. Go Pack, go. Daryl, thank you for that. Corey James, should you become most hated Michigander? Yeah, I know what you mean, though. Maybe you should. We talked about that, Watson and Reed, and appreciate you, Corey. Matt LaFleur has issues at times, but definitely keep him. Ben, you and I are on the same wavelength there. All right, going to try to get through the rest. Super speedy here. Do need to get out of here pretty quick. Betting any coach has a better record than Matt is a bad bet. You'll have a much worse situation to start than Matt had. And doesn't he have the first or second best record through 100 games in NFL history? It's right there, Beast. It's right within that conversation for sure. I felt LaFleur used to use LaFleur used too many gadget plays versus Dallas. This is one of those where I feel like there's no winning. Like, that's usually a sign of an aggressive play. And people want more aggressiveness and more aggression. If he doesn't use those, it's like, oh, why is Matt using such vanilla stuff? You just got to win in the NFL for people to be happy. And even after 2-0, people weren't happy. So I don't know. That's why being an NFL head coach is a thankless position. Brian and Matt have done an amazing job with transitioning from Rodgers to Love. We are privileged to have seen the Bears, the Saints, and the Panthers all have failed without good coaching. again, what you want to do is you want to compare to the best of the best, right? You don't want to compare to the worst of the worst, but Matt's in pretty good company overall. He knows, just like everyone knows, he's going to be judged on Super Bowl wins and getting at least one of those. And that's obviously on his to-do list. And if he can't get there, there's always going to be questions. If he can get there, honestly, there's probably still going to be questions. LaFleur isn't perfect, but none of them are. That's very, very true. You guys really want to drive Andy crazy with the fire LaFleur? We have a great team. Look at the Chiefs, Ravens, etc. And I'm guessing their fans are going scorched earth. It's tough. It's a tough league. It's a very, very tough league. Andy taking a stand. The season has not come to a full swing yet since they've only played 4 games so far. Some fans lose their minds over one loss or draw like it's the end of the season already. Like, come on, it just started. First quarter of the season doesn't tell you it doesn't paint a great picture no matter what. We'll see how they do over the next couple quarters of the season and have a better feel for where this team is at. I was told by this podcast that we must have had bad special teams to have great quarterback play. I'll still take it. 1 or 2 losses or your Cincinnati. I know my choice. I'll take great quarterback play and bad special teams play every single time, I guess, if that's the trade-off. The immediacism makes me crazy. The whole fire Matt LaFleur makes no sense to me. He's had some mistakes for sure. But just look at Shanahan and Reed. They've made some bad mistakes as well. It's no joke. Like I said, it's very, very tough being an NFL head coach, period. End of story. I believe this early buy is going to be our savior. I think Matt made a good choice with an earlier buy than a later one. Thoughts? Also keep Matt 100. I don't think Matt had any say over the earlier buy, but it definitely is coming at a fine time right now based on where this team is at. Are you disappointed that still talking communication issues? Yes. Fair to be disappointed in that. Totally fair. I don't know why some fans never think positive, always say negative things about the Packers team. They actually don't know every game makes them a lot better. Yeah, again, I understand frustration. I understand passion. I don't understand that just fire everyone, cut everyone, and that's going to make things better. It very, very rarely does. Yeah, the long bomb, though, wasn't the first play in the game. It was like, what, play 3 or 4, something like that? Andy, how's it going? Hope all is well with you and your family. Tulio, thank you for that. Hope all is going well with you guys as well. Maybe the punt return, Golden had a couple plays, right? The punt return and then what was it? A jet sweep where there was no blocking there. So he tried to cut it back and do a spin and they got punched in the face. There were a couple bizarro Golden plays in this one. By my estimation, they still have another 13 games to play after the bye week. Some fans see this as the end of the season. Again, to take the long-term approach. Try not to ride the waves. Always my call out on this part of the year. Rather than analytical Matt, I want vampire Matt going for the jugular. Gary, I will accept that as well. Is Watson about to play versus Cincinnati already? I don't think so, Tulio. I don't know for sure, but the fact that Matt wouldn't commit to Christian practicing right away next week would lead me to believe that he's not going to play. Probably is going to take a little bit of a ramp-up period. The Golden Wicks play, I was basing it off of, I believe, someone's tweet showing Golden ran the wrong route. Then the spin move, then the running backwards moments, as they say, rookie mistakes. Yes, he is definitely going through some of those, but still making some big plays while also going through some of those rookie moments. Why is Nixon not being used as a kicker or punt returner? I think it's because he's their top corner and they're trying to save him. He's had a couple plays as a punt returner, if I remember correctly. Honestly, as a punt returner, he's a little bit of a chaos agent. He sometimes catches it over his head, is very aggressive, doesn't always field it cleanly. I think he should be on kick returns a little bit more often. I think they need to find a punt returner. I noticed there's only 5 wide receivers on the active roster with 2 key players sitting in IR for quite some time. A few more sitting on the practice squad. Time to call up Keeney James and Nair to fill in. Daryl, they're going to get Watson back soon. Also, you do have Bo Melton, who's played some at wide receiver too, so you have that extra spot there. I don't think they need to call up those guys. I wouldn't hate it if they found a punt returner in the time being. No updates on the injuries. Good time for a bye. Do you think they will be better after the bye? I don't know. I would assume that probably Belton and Banks are closer than Zach Tom, but I don't know for sure at this point. Apparently, we called Asante Samuel to see how he's doing. Would you like to add him at some point this year? If he's cheap and he's healthy, sure. I don't think he's a great fit. He's not a good tackler, but he's a fun player. And if you can get him for cheap and he wants to come play for Green Bay, I certainly wouldn't hate it. There's few on IR who are designated to return to the lineup, potentially key players that can make the team better. There are a few. Yes, correct. If I remember correctly, Asante Samuel Jr. was available when Goody selected Stokes. I believe that is correct. No, but to be fair, it's not like Samuel's had a great career so far. He's been up and down as well. Nobody was better at hiring the right people than Mark Murphy except Bob Harlan. Harlan was amazing. No question about it. Special teams and offensive line. Yes, sir. Cox, Wyatt, Watson, Lloyd, Williams, and Monk might return from their injuries. At some point, that's the hope. I don't think Williams is going to. John Williams, I don't think is going to. The rest, I do think will return at some point. I view LaFleur's conservatism as situational and occasionally problematic, but easier to fix after the results. Last game was bleak, but provided evidence needed to get out of his own head and simplify. I just think there needs to be a vision. I don't think trusting his gut is an okay vision. And it seems to be like he's okay trusting his gut. His gut hasn't been good enough. I need to have a bit more of an analytical or a research-based approach to some of those situations. We will definitely see how this looks over the next few months. Do you think the Pack will be in the market for any additional talent before the trade deadline? What positions could we improve, both starters and backups? Depth at defensive tackle is up there. Offensive line is still a bit of a question. Maybe they look at corner as well. Those would be the three. Sorry, Andy, I didn't realize I asked about cats twice. Pearl, I will forgive you very much. You're all good. How would you feel about the Packers coming to London again? I was there for my first Packers game as a London native, and I feel like they owe me after the performance against the Giants. I don't really care how I feel about it. They're going to end up having more international games. That's the new NFL. So it's definitely going to happen. I am going to make sure that I get there the next time that it happens. That's my biggest thing. Not missing out on that again. New York Cheesehead, thank you to you as well. Appreciate you all for the great questions, the super chats, etc. I will be out the next few days, but there will be episodes for you every single day. If you're a member, you're getting some of those early already. Justice and I are recording in about 3 hours here. That episode will be going up tonight for members, tomorrow for non-members, and also have a couple other episodes still to get up. So keep an eye out for those as well. I'll see you guys all very, very soon. On the flip side, after Vegas, hopefully not too hungover. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.